Okay, simple interest is our next one. Now guys, if you borrow money, you need to pay for the use of that money. No one gives you money for nothing. And if you lend money, you will be paid for doing so, obviously, and that's how a lot of people make money. The price of borrowing or lending money is called interest, and the simplest type of interest is called simple interest, and we're going to introduce many types of interest throughout this module, but at the moment we're interested in simple interest. Now simple interest has a formula. I equals PRT divided by, all of that divided by 100, PRT over 100. Now that means the P is our principal amount, or the amount invested. Our rate, R, is the interest rate per annum. And T is the length of time in years, all divided by 100. And that is the formula that we are going to use from now on. And it's going to be I equals PRT over 100, and that is the simple interest formula. And I'm not going to transpose any of these, so if we need to find the principal amount or the rate or the time, I'm going to stick with this, and we're going to manipulate the formula just by substitution and not give you 4 or 5 different formulas. We're just going to stick with the same one and work it through that way. Now here is an example. How much interest would you earn if you invested $5,000 at 10% interest per annum for 3 years? Now, the first step in answering this question is to write the formula down. I equals PRT over 100. Now, I also would like you to write down this. I equals, P equals, R equals, and T equals, and label these so you know which one is for what in this situation. So, how much interest would you earn? Interest is I, so this is the one that we want to find out. If you invested 5,000, 5,000 is going to be here. That's going to be our principal amount, and we're investing it. Our interest rate is 10%, which will go here, and the time is 3 years. So now you know what each of your letters are, and now you can substitute it into the formula. Therefore, I equals P, which is 5,000 multiplied by the rate, which is 10%, by 3 years, and divide that all by 100. Okay, so that's what you have to do, and that is going to equal for us $1,500. So how much interest would you earn if you invested 5,000 at 10% per annum for 3 years? It's going to be $1,500. Now guys, 10% of 5,000 is $500. So every year I'm going to get $500 in interest on the initial investment. So that makes sense to me. 500, 500, 500. Year 1, year 2, year 3. In total it's going to be $1,500 or $1,500. Simple, isn't it? Next question. How much interest would be due on a loan of 5,000 at 10% per annum for 6 months? Now what's changed here? This. Now if you remember, again the same thing, I equals PRT over 100, I, P, R, and T, again. And then equals, and put in where things go. How much interest would be due? This time I'm owing money to the bank, just interest they're asking for, of a principal amount of $5,000. Again, that stays the same. This is also the same as the previous question, not dollars, it's 10%. And the time now is 6 months. We have to convert this to years, guys. So 6 months in years, how many months are there in a year? 12. So 6 over 12, which will give me 0.5 years. So, therefore, I equals PRT over 100. I'll just write it out again. Drill that in. I equals, our principal amount is 5,000, multiplied by our interest rate, which is 10 by 6 divided by 12, or 0.5, all over 100, and our interest rate for this question will go in here. So you can just plug it into the calculator and you'll end up with $250. So if you borrowed $5,000 at 10% per annum for 6 months, you're going to owe in interest only $250. Okay, so that's the way it works. So this is what will be due on the loan for borrowing that amount for 6 months or half a year. Now, find the total amount owed on a loan. So this is important. Reading the question is important. Find the total amount owed on a loan of that 10,000 at 12% per annum at the end of 2 years. Okay, that's simple interest again. I equals PRT on 100. Label I, P, R, and T equals. Okay, find the total amount owed on a loan. Now, that means I've got to work out the interest again. So this is the question mark. The principal amount is 10,000. Our interest rate is 12% per annum. I don't have to change anything at the moment. 2 years, time is in years, so that goes to 2. So let's substitute. I equals 10,000 multiplied by 12 multiplied by 2 years all over 100. So this is just working out the interest at the moment. Therefore, our interest for this question will work out to be what? $2,400. That is just, guys, the interest by itself. But the question is asking for total amount owed. I haven't repaid any money yet. There's nothing about repayments here. So how much did I borrow? I borrowed 10,000. The interest that was accumulated for borrowing this money over 2 years, which is quite high, isn't it? 2,400. The total that I owe the person or the bank that I borrowed this money from is $12,400. And that's how you work it out. Exactly the same step, however, the question has changed now to finding the total. Okay, let's have a look at this question. Find the rate of simple interest charged per annum if a loan of $20,000 incurs interest of $12,000 after 8 years. Again, I equals PRT over 100. The formula. Label, again, I, P, R, and T. I like doing this by hand so you can get used to doing these types of questions. Now, find the interest, find the rate of simple interest, so that means the question mark is going to go for the R. And it says that a loan of 20,000, so the principal amount is 20,000 over here. The interest incurs interest of 12,000, so the 12,000 goes here. And the time here is 8 years. So everything is in per annum and years, and we're right to go with this question. So, 12,000, I, equals P, which is 20,000, multiplied by the rate, which we need to find here, for 8 years, which is the time, all divided by 100. Again, multiply this by 100 to get rid of it. What I do to the right, I've got to do to the left. These cancel out. What am I left with? I get 8 2s are 16, so it's 16, and then add your zeros in there. So I get 160,000 R equals 12,000 by 100. 12, 1, 2, 3, add 2 zeros, and I get that. So I've got 160,000 on this side. I'm multiplying it to R. To get rid of the 160,000 from this side, I divide by 160,000. But what I do to the right, I do to the left as well. So I've got to divide this one here as well by 160,000. Now, that divided by itself is 1, and I'm left with R. So I can just put it on the right hand side. Doesn't matter if I put it on the left hand side. And with this one, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros here. That means I can get rid of 4 zeros here and here as well. And I've got 120 divided by 16. And the rate for this will be 7.5%. And that's how you do this question. So the actual answer is find the rate of simple interest at 7.5% per annum. Quite simple. Next question. Find the length of time, that's T now, it would take for 50,000 invested at an interest rate of 8% per annum to earn 10,000 in interest. Okay, so find the length of time. So again, I equals PRT on 100. Again, label, guys. You need to do this. And you also get marks for doing this stuff, especially in your SACs when you are doing your SACs. Find the length of time. So that's the question mark this time. I is 10,000 interest. The principal amount, we're investing 50,000 in here. And the rate is at 8% as well. So now we substitute. 10,000 equals principal P multiplied by the rate, multiplied by the time, all over 100. Okay, again, let's get rid of this 100, times this by 100. What you do there, you've got to do here as well, times that by 100. I'm doing by hand. You can do this by a graphics calculator as well, but I'm not interested in that at the moment. Right, 5/8 of 40, isn't it? And then we add the zeros, 4 of those, and T, and over here, 10,000, add 2 zeros, 10,000, add 2 zeros, and we get this. That's 1 million over here and 400,000 over here. So let's get rid of the 400,000 T, the 400,000 in front of the T. I'm multiplying it here, so I do the opposite and divide. That's the process. So that's what I'm doing at the moment. And I've got to also do it over here. 400,000. So there you go. They cancel out. Therefore, I get T over here. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zeros here that I can get rid of. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 10 divided by 4 is 2.5 years. And that's how you do that question. Okay, and the work that I need you to do for this one is exercise 20B. Do every second question